say that
Kapchan.
this is about the West being weak?
Professor
I don't think
Kapchan,
so.
allow me.
What you're seeing is the West organize solidarity against Russia.
No.
West, of the nations
Professor Kapchan.
We're seeing serious sanctions against Russia.
Yeah.
Most of the world is coming together against Russia. India should get off the fence.
Okay, now I'll tell you something, Professor Kapchan. And I hope that you will allow me a decent response, and then Ambassador Pawan Verma will respond to you. I see John wants to respond to you. First, I'd like to. First of all, with the greatest of respect, Professor Charles Kapchan, you have no moral standing to talk. You are in no position, you as in America is in no position to pretend to be the guardian of democracy and human rights. You are the worst perpetrator of atrocities. You, in Barack Obama in 2011, intervened in a nascent Libyan civil war, using the NATO and Arab League partners, prolonging the war for 1 decade. You launched armed conflict in at least 6 countries. Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Niger. You carry out drone strikes. You've killed thousands with your drone strikes. You run Guantanamo Bay, where you run it on a 1,000-year-old ridiculous lease. You dropped atom bombs, killing 1,99,000 people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You dropped napalm bombs. No, I'm not. I'm going to talk about the past. No, I am. Allow me. It's difficult, I know, for you to hear this, but since I listened to you till you completed, you must listen to me. You must listen to me, sir. Sir, you must listen to me. No, 1 second. We'll do what we want. No, we'll do. 1 second. Allow me. I'm taking you on, Professor. I'm taking you on, Professor. Allow me to complete, please, Miss Sofson. He spoke about my country. I'd first like to tell you, Mr. Kapchan, that's exactly what Pawan Verma said. You're dealing with India. We're a big country. We're not your satellite state. So don't lecture us on what we need to do. We're going to look out for yourself. You use the phrase geopolitical expediency in place of values. You lecture me as an American to an Indian on values, and you say that we are acting in geopolitical expediency. Allow me to complete. Allow me to complete, sir. Allow me to complete. Where were your values? Where were your values? Where were your values when in the first 2 months of the US invasion of Iraq, 7,186 Iraqi civilians were direct casualties of the war? Was that your expediency? Was that expression of your values, Professor Kapchan? So now I'd like Pawan Verma to respond to you. Pawan Verma.
I ask the professor with great respect. You are asking us not to sit on the fence. Where has the rhetoric of the United States and NATO gone? They led Ukraine up the garden path. Have they put boots on the ground? Have they come to its assistance? Have they actually joined the war in support of a Ukraine invaded by Russia? Even the Ukrainian president has said, don't offer us rides, offer us weapons. Where is your support? Sitting on the fence. I ask you, when you continued for decades to support the apartheid regime in South Africa because the gold and minerals were important to you, where was your conscience? And as far as India is concerned, we are in one of the most troubled neighborhoods of the world. We have 2 hostile powers on our border, China and Pakistan. We need to take care of our security interests while simultaneously trying to promote a rules-based international order. But we can't cherry pick, we can't be selective. When China threatens India, not one sentence came out of the United States or from NATO.
Precisely.
These are questions you must understand. We have $15 million in the pipeline
the situation that we have
coming to us in terms of the
The U.S. is facing a reckoning for its violent land theft as mass graves of Indigenous children are being uncovered across the country. I'm Yunj Kim, and this is MTV News Need to Know. The graves of at least 21 Indigenous children are believed to have been found in Grand Junction, Colorado. It would be the latest mass grave site discovered in land associated with former Indigenous boarding schools in the U.S. and Canada, forcing us to grapple with the dark part of our history that descendants are still mourning. Quote-unquote Indian boarding schools were first created in the 1800s by Christian missionaries to make Indigenous kids assimilate to a Eurocentric culture. They were, of course, rooted in racism. An American general who founded the Carlisle Indian Industrial School described its goal as to kill the Indian, save the man. By 1900, 3/4 of Indigenous children in the United States were enrolled in these boarding schools, and most of the nearly 400 known schools were run by the federal government, and about a third were run by the Catholic Church. For more than a century, these kids were forcibly taken from their families and stripped of their culture, language, and identity. They were forced to learn English and convert to Christianity, and many suffered other abuses, like confinement, sexual assault, neglect, and were beaten for speaking in their native language. Diseases often ravaged these schools, and a lot of the children did not survive. Survivors remember seeing fellow students buried in unmarked graves. Journalist and child of a boarding school survivor Ruth H. Hopkins tweeted in part, "The discovery of thousands of unmarked graves is just the beginning of the truth being revealed. The dead are crying out to be found." This is not some far-off history. It wasn't until 1978 that it became illegal to separate Indigenous families for these boarding schools. And these schools weren't just a means to whitewash American culture. They were a way to steal tribal lands, and as colonizers began expanding to the West, so did hundreds of assimilation boarding schools. Ben